It's the Best Damn Sports Show podcast with your hosts, Jason Cahill and Zach Johnson.
Welcome to the Best Damn Sports Show podcast. I'm Jason Cahill. Sitting next to me, as always, Zach Johnson. Zach, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
If you are a wrestling fan, you are going to love today's podcast. We've got two of the greats. One new school, the other very old school,
yeah.
and I can't wait for it. First up in a few minutes, we're going to be talking to the champ, John Cena.
Yeah.
He's here talking wrestling, of course, and promoting his movie 12 Rounds.
New action star.
Yeah, by the way, I was reading something this morning. Did you see what he said about A-Rod?
I did.
See, This is one of those things where I read it. The headline said something like, John Cena says A-Rod should go to jail for steroid use. It's one of those things that I read that, and I said, I can't believe that he would say that.
Yeah, it seems odd that I know Cena always says he's clean, and we believe him, take him at his word, but we know the WWE is not the cleanest of environments.
It's probably a safe assumption.
Yeah, so saying that he wants A-Rod to go to jail, that's kind of a bold claim.
Yeah,
you know?
It just struck me as really unusual.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like maybe he was making a general claim, and they asked him about Alex Rodriguez, and then they kind of mixed the two together. I don't know, but we'll definitely ask him.
It's like the president of AIG coming out and say that Madoff should really go to jail because he's a crook. It's like, I can't believe these guys. Sorry.
So yeah,
trying to be topical.
Yeah, instead of getting your Doc Severinsen reference.
Yeah, exactly. And Sonia Henney once. I'm trying to look. I'm trying to read
like it. You're current events now.
Yeah, exactly. That's my new thing. Yeah.
So we'll ask Cena about that A-Rod story. We'll talk wrestling. We'll talk about his movie. And lots of other good stuff. He's always a great guest, so we look forward to that. And then coming up later on in the podcast, Zach, I can't wait for this guy to come on the show.
This will be awesome.
We've got the Iron Sheik.
This is great.
We've got the Iron Sheik.
It's funny, though, because he's like, in the 80s, it was like he was the villain. He was from Iran, supposedly.
Right.
He was like the bad guy.
Yeah.
But you didn't know anything about him. He was a one-dimensional, like, you waved the...
right, he was the heel. It was him and Nikolai Volkov, and they were the tag team
partners. I don't think Iran and, like, Russia were, like, known, like, allies, but for the world of wrestling, they were, like, good friends.
Well, because, I mean, pretty much, those two countries were hated by America back in the, the early and mid-'80s.
Yeah, I thought there would be maybe get a guy from Libya too. That was a big 80s.
Well, he came back years later, and he wasn't the Iron Sheik. I think he was like Colonel Mustafa.
Yeah, something like that.
And they said he was an Iraqi sympathizer. That was his character then.
Exactly, yeah.
So he played the heel really well.
So he's still from Iran, but he's an Iraqi sympathizer.
But God, there's so much to talk to that guy about. I mean, look, we're going to mention the fact that he's on Stern now a lot, and. A whole new world of people know him just based on his appearances on the Howard Stern Show. And, a lot of people who are wrestling fans know him from, wrestling in the 80s and 90s. But and that's me, by the way. I grew up watching this guy
a great wrestler,
on Saturday mornings and Saturday nights. And I used to root for him and Nikolai Volkov. Nikolai Volkov and Iron Sheik, they were in a tag team wrestling match in my high school gymnasium.
Really? Yeah.
And me and my friends went to the gym to watch these guys wrestle. And being the jackasses that we were, we brought with us these disc guns. So like these plastic guns that shot these plastic discs. And, if I hit you from 3 feet away, it wouldn't even hurt.
Yeah.
It would just bounce right off you, except it was really, really annoying.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you can load them up with like 20 discs at a time. So we went to the match with the disc guns in our hands, and we kept shooting at the wrestlers as they were wrestling. Like, we were those jackasses.
And then no one stopped you, huh?
No, which is amazing because, like, can you imagine showing up at
with a fake gun
at an event with like a fake gun in your pocket, and then going up to the ring, going ringside, and actually shooting the wrestlers with your disc gun?
You were like trying to be part of the show. You're one of those guys. Like, I'm going to be the show right now.
I'm not proud of what I did.
He should have put you in the camel clutch. Just like
maybe that's what we were hoping for.
Like you get into you're one of those guys that gets pulled into the ring and like. A plant, but you're not a plant. You're just in there.
I think it was probably one of those things where we just wanted to get acknowledged by those guys. Yeah. But, I'm sure they talked about how much they hated us afterwards.
It's like, I'm tired of doing these Bush League venues with these rubes over here.
Well, I mean, after having seen The Wrestler, it's like now I know those guys were like, like, we go to this gymnasium, we're getting paid $100 to wrestle in front of, 14 and 15-year-olds, and we got these jackasses
these
shooting us with disc guns.
Yeah.
God, but yeah, I mean, the Iron Sheik, God, I used to remember I rooted for him, even though, he's the heel and you're supposed to root against him. I like watching him.
Was it I think it was WrestleMania 1 that he went against Hulk Hogan, and then he lost, and
Well, the thing about that, and we'll ask him about this because I know it really sets him off. You know, he won the WWF Heavyweight Championship. He beat Bob Backlund.
When it was WWF.
Bob Backlund had it for like 5 straight years.
Yeah, long time.
Iron Sheik comes in, beats Backlund. I think this is like 83, and then 4 weeks later, he wrestles Hogan, and Hogan beats him. And I know he's just so pissed off that they took the title away from him. They only gave it to him for 4 weeks, and then they took it away. Hogan gets it in 83, and then boom. Like, that was the wrestling boom started the minute Hogan won that match in 83.
Yeah. I wonder if he's bitter about that. He seems like a pretty good-natured fellow. That he probably
pretty even-keeled guy.
He doesn't hold any grudges or anything. Like, he's just real, like,
of course
calm
not.
and
So, I mean, look, there's a ton of stuff we're going to talk to him about. The Hogan match is just one of a million things that I've got on a list in front of me.
Yeah.
We're going to ask him about Vince McMahon, the Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, Hogan. I mean, there's a ton of things that I know set him off at like a moment's notice. Yeah. And, we're going to ask him about going on Howard Stern, if he likes that or not, and what he thinks of Artie Lang's impression. By the way, do you know that Artie Lang gave us a shout-out on the Howard Stern show a couple days ago?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he mentioned the podcast.
Really?
Yeah, they were talking podcasts. Howard was talking about he's got an iPhone, he downloads podcasts. Yeah. And Howard said, what podcast do you listen to? And Artie's like, well, I like the Best Damn Sports Show podcast.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
Artie. Isn't that pretty cool?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he has trouble sleeping, so maybe it's to make him go to sleep, but, it's still a mention,
you think he uses the podcast as a sleep aid?
That's what he's listening to on the show as he falls asleep in the third hour.
Boy, I hope not.
Yeah.
But thank you, Artie Lang, for mentioning
that.
That's
great.
That's really cool of you.
Yeah.
And we hope you're listening right now and you're about to enjoy the Iron Sheik and John Cena. Hey, before we get to the guests, I have a real quick story for you.
Okay.
I did something this morning that if I had to make a list of the top 10 coolest things I've done in my life, what I did this morning is going to be on that list.
Okay.
I'm a big Simpsons fan. Yeah. I don't know if you are a fan. You watch the show.
I've seen a few episodes.
Okay. I know that our producer, Chris, is a big fan of The Simpsons. So show's been on 20 years. For at least the first 15 years of the show, I think I've seen every single episode multiple times. Mm-hmm. This morning, I got to go to a table read.
Really?
I sat in a conference room while the entire cast of The Simpsons read through one of their newer scripts.
Really?
It was unbelievable.
I bet.
Super, super funny. And the cool thing was, after it was all done, the cast members kind of stuck around and they signed everybody's scripts.
Yeah.
So it's a big conference room table, and you've got the cast sitting there, all the voices. Everybody was there. Harry Shearer wasn't. He was on a speakerphone. He was the only guy not there.
Okay.
Everybody else was there, and they had the writers in the room as well, because I think they want to judge whether or not certain jokes get laughs.
Get funny.
And then they've got about 20 people who aren't affiliated with the show who are just there listening and reading along with a script. They give everybody a script.
Is that something they do often, like just let people listen? Or?
I think so, and I'd never known about it until the opportunity came up today for me to go, and apparently it was the 20th anniversary of the table read. So I think 20 years ago today, they had their very first table read.
Really?
And that 20 years later, here we are. But it was a great episode. And
were there any special guests?
No, there were no special guests, but when we walked in the room, each of the scripts had a name on it, and the one that I had Jonah Hill's name on it. Oh. So I think they were thinking Jonah Hill might show up for the table read, and he never did. So
he's probably in the episode, but not there for the table read.
No, he's not even in the episode. I think he's just a Simpsons fan who was going to come and watch the table read.
It's great.
But, the really cool thing about it is, these guys are all so super talented.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great sitting 3 feet away from these guys, like Dan Castellaneta, 3 feet away from you, doing Homer's voice.
Simpson, it's great.
And doing Barney's voice, and just seeing all the guys do what they do best, and adding so much more to the script as it's written. So they'll take a line, and they'll just make it funnier with the way they
deliver it.
The way they deliver it.
Also, if they're having a conversation with themselves, like if they're doing multiple voices.
Yeah, which happened a lot.
They do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
They just
Barney
Barney
and Homer
voice,
had lines of dialogue, one right after the other, and that's Dan.
Yeah.
So he goes from character to character, and it's seamless.
He didn't have to delay or anything?
You close your eyes, no delay.
Yeah.
You close your eyes, you don't know who's doing what character.
That's amazing that he can just switch his voice in his head, like from one to the other to the next to them. Because Harry Shearer and Hank Azaria both. They could have conversations. They could do whole episodes by themselves because they do so many voices.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like they could be, everyone.
Yep.
Like Wiggum talking to Quimby, talking to, it's like all these different ones.
Yeah, that was it.
And Flanders talking to, whoever. Burns. It's just like all the same people.
Yep. And the cool thing about this episode was that it really incorporated a lot of the Simpsons characters. I don't think there was anybody really missing from the episode. So you really got to see everybody do every voice. And it was, again, just one of the cooler things I've gotten to do, certainly since being here on the Fox lot.
Yeah.
But really in my life, I'm such a TV fan and such a fan of that show. So
Jason was still surprised that Bart Simpson was a woman.
You know what's funny? It's so funny you say that. But on the way over there, I went with a couple of people who are also producers on the show, and I said, at some point during the reading, I'm going to stand up and say, "Wait, Bart's a girl?"
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Yeah. That's crazy. That can't happen.
Yeah, but the cool thing.
But at least Nelson's not a girl. What?
Nelson wasn't in this episode.
Yeah, but Nelson
he's
is
the one.
Bart is.
Yeah, Milhouse is a girl.
Yeah,
Bart's a girl.
Most of the kids are done by girls because it's easier for
exactly
a woman to do a little kid's voice.
Yeah, Nancy Cartwright is the woman who does Bart, and Milhouse, and it's just
really, who'd you go with?
It's just a pleasure watching her work. Who did I go with? Yeah. I went with Laura Marcus, who is the fantastic talent booker for Best Damn and for the podcast.
Gets the Iron Sheik on our broadcast.
She was actually nice enough to invite me, and then Karen, one of our other producers, went with us as well. So it was a really fun morning.
I'm a little bit jealous because I'm not only positive I'm a bigger Simpsons fan than them, I'm pretty sure I'm a bigger Simpsons fan than you because I've seen every single episode, and I could recite, and I will challenge anyone to a trivia contest.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. And I have no doubt in my mind that I would beat you. No doubt. No offense to you.
Where is this coming from? I had no idea you were a fan of the show.
I watch TiVo every 3 episodes every day.
You've seen all 20 years worth of episodes.
I believe I have. I believe if I went through the list, I might have missed maybe 1 or 2 in the last few years. But I still watch it every week.
Wow.
And I've seen every single episode. Oh, the old ones, I could almost recite the whole teleplay by myself, probably.
Go ahead, sing the Monorail song.
Monorail.
Yeah,
that's a tough one, though.
Wow.
But,
Now you're making me feel bad. But it wasn't my invite. You understand? It wasn't my invite.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just jealous because you got to go. But I have no, if it's not your invite,
Hey, I was brought along for the ride.
That's cool. How do I get hooked up with this?
We'll have to see about that.
Exactly. But I think many people will be jealous of that because that is a great opportunity.
It was cool. It was great. I'm glad I got to do it, and I'll never forget it. So, and I'm sorry you weren't there with me. Next time, I'll bring you along.
It's only my live stream. It's no big deal.
All right, let's move on from The Simpsons to Cena.
Yeah, 12 rounds.
Let's bring the champ in.
Yeah,
He's the star of the movie 12 Rounds. Opens up this Friday, and of course he's got WrestleMania coming up in just a few weeks. He is John Cena. Hey, champ, welcome to the Best Damn Sports Show podcast. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Hey, we're great. Thanks for doing this. We really appreciate it. Love having you on Best Damn, and now love having you on the podcast.
There you go. We've hit for the cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, so we'll talk about the movie and WrestleMania in just a couple of minutes. First off, let's talk some baseball. I got to ask you this. I was reading the New York Daily News this morning, and one of the headlines in there says, John Cena thinks A-Rod should go to jail for steroid use. Did you really say that?
Once again, as newspapers do, taken out of context. They had asked me about A-Rod's situation, and they had asked me what he'd done. My defense or my answer was the fact that the government and Americans as a whole seem so bent out of shape about all these performance-enhancing drug issues, no matter which venue it occurs, whether it be Major League Baseball, football, whatever, to the point of bringing these guys in front of Congress to testify. If you're going to spend taxpayers' money and then not do anything about it, I think it's a waste of time. And what you're doing is you're asking for this behavior to be repeated by athletes because there's generally no penalty for it. So an athlete's statistics are tarnished. A-Rod's still getting paid to play, and all those guys pretty much still go back to their regular jobs. If they really wanted to make the athletes think twice about making the choice, they would treat it like an athlete getting caught with illegal drugs because that's what they're caught with, illegal drugs. If they wanted athletes to think twice about this, they could set up a program where, listen, you're going to jail. Because when you go to jail, that means you have a criminal record. That means you sacrifice contract money, sponsorship money, and you get yourself pretty much in a world of crap.
All right, so let's say the government steps in right now and they say, okay, from this point forward, any athlete who's found using steroids, admits to using steroids, you're going to jail. You're okay with that?
I am so fine with that because you would see the amount of people taking these performance-enhancing drugs fall off like the crash in the stock market. It's not a wise choice then by an athlete. Right now, literally, if you're an athlete, you can do it and virtually have no penalty. What do you get, a 2-week suspension in the NFL or a 30-day suspension in the NFL? It's a slap on the wrist. These guys can keep doing what they want to do and go back to to their careers as is, and it just becomes, unless you're A-Rod, it becomes a scroll on the ESPN ticker or the Fox ticker. It's one of those things that, if, like I said, if attached to a true disciplinary response and something that could threaten your career, not just your legacy, these guys would think twice about it. I guarantee you that.
All right, well, let's talk baseball specifically. I know you're a big baseball fan, almost a baseball purist. So a lot of these guys who are admitting to using steroids, suspected to have used steroids, who are going to be eligible for the Hall of Fame in a few years, or who are already eligible for the Hall of Fame, should they be Hall of Famers?
Well, I think there is, it's essentially not a contest of the world's strongest man. Performance-enhancing drugs, although they do increase your physical ability to perform, you still have to hit a baseball, you still have to throw a baseball, you still have to do the fundamental skills of America's pastime that make some who play just that much better than others. And there's an argument on both sides. Whether those guys get in the Hall of Fame or not, I respect all the statistics that they have. There's no way for you not to, just because I played baseball. It's tough. And for you to be able to be that good, it involves more than what you would get in a syringe or what you would get in a tablet.
All right, so you have a Hall of Fame vote. Let's say hypothetically right now. You have a vote. Are you voting Barry Bonds into the Hall of Fame?
I am. I absolutely am.
How about Alex Rodriguez? Same thing?
I am. I'm voting him into the Hall of Fame as well.
Okay.
Those guys have performed in every aspect of the game, and that just you can't ignore that. You just can't ignore that. I know baseball, especially because it is embraced as America's pastime, wants to protect itself as such a pure and clean game. The industry itself, baseball itself, set itself up for a fall like this by not preparing itself for something that was literally taking over our country. And now they're trying to backtrack, and they're trying to do the best they can. But there's nothing you can do. These guys have played. These guys have had these statistics. I firmly believe Pete Rose should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame because he's the best hitter to ever play the game, statistically the best hitter ever to play the game. So it's one of those things where I don't necessarily agree with the true baseball purists. I respect accomplishment by the athlete.
Okay. Let's talk about your Red Sox. I know you're a big Red Sox fan. So last year, the big trade was they traded Manny Ramirez to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Were you, at the time, good with that? I know you'd been on the show before, and you talked about how much you like Manny Ramirez. What were you thinking at that point?
I still love him, but there's no way. It's not good for the athlete, and it's not good for the organization when the athlete decides I've had enough. And Manny, for whatever reason, that's certainly his personal business, decided he has had enough of Boston. And when you see a guy taking days off and not giving 100%, like I said, you can be the best player in the game. And Manny certainly has an argument to be the best player in the game. But if you're going 50%, it doesn't do the athlete any good. It doesn't do the organization any good. Then they shipped him to L.A. and he caught fire. So I still have the same respect for Manny Ramirez, and it was the right move for the Red Sox. It was the right move for Manny.
Hey, by the way, so you mentioned a guy like Manny who maybe not giving 100% every night. If you see a guy in the WWE who maybe doesn't give 100% on any given night, you feel like he's kind of half-assing it, are you going to pull him aside and talk to him? I mean, you being one of the veteran guys there?
That type of behavior doesn't last too long in our realm because it is like a team environment. You have, 30, sometimes 50 guys given their all and really, really, very thankful to be where they're at in the WWE. So if a guy's coming up short every night, that's dealt with immediately.
Back to baseball. Curt Schilling just retired. Do you think personally that he's a Hall of Famer?
He's come up with some big wins, and I think a lot of what has to go into the Hall of Fame is statistics. Statistically, he certainly doesn't jump out of the page and knock me in the face, but what he's done accomplishment-wise, especially he'll be remembered obviously in the playoffs for the Sox, that you can't ignore that. It's very similar to a mediocre quarterback winning a handful of Super Bowls. By no means am I saying Curt Schilling is mediocre, but what I'm saying is that sort of performance is often overshadowed by what you do in the postseason. So I think he does have a shot at the Hall of Fame just because, he always stepped up and delivered when called upon.
Hey, let's talk football for a quick second. And your Patriots traded Matt Castle recently to the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of people thought that they didn't get fair value for Castle, and they kind of gave him away. What was your take on that trade?
I thought the Patriots front office is one that I certainly don't argue with. I thought the Castle trade was great. Matt Castle had a great season in New England last year. Still needs to improve himself. I mean, Tom Brady is the quarterback of the Patriots, that is for sure. But because Matt Castle had such a good season, the NFL is a business. He was now demanding the pay that he deserves for what were his performance. The Patriots really didn't have a place for him, and they you know, as far as an even swap for Matt Castle, I don't know if they were going to get that from anyone. What they did do is they cleared a bunch of cap room. They got another draft pick, and they kind of set them up to make some good decisions down the road. I don't think Matt Castle was given away. I think it was a situation that was what's best for Matt. He gets to play as a quarterback for another team, and what's best for the Patriots. Now they have a little bit of money to go out and make a move for somebody else.
All right, cool. Hey, let's talk about your movie. So 12 rounds, opens Friday. Why don't you tell everybody what the movie's about?
The movie is a great thrill ride. I play a beat cop who kind of is just an ordinary guy, makes the bust of his life by mistake, sends a super criminal to jail. The criminal vows revenge, breaks out of jail a year later, takes my girlfriend, blows up my house, and then sends me on 12 wild and action-packed rounds through the city of New Orleans, trying to get my girl back and kind of win the day.
Hey, I thought your first movie, The Marine, was kind of a throwback to like 80s movie action heroes. But what are some of your favorite action movies?
I'd say some of the classics. Definitely a fan of Die Hard. Running Man is one of my favorites. Predator also. Total Recall. I think you guys see a theme here. I'm a big Willis. I'm a big Schwarzenegger fan.
Yeah.
Those are the type of movies that I was really married to. I mean, I go as far back as even like Commando and stuff like that. Those are truly great movies.
Hey, so do you go back and watch some of those movies knowing that you're going to do a movie like The Marine or knowing you're going to do something like 12 rounds? You know, like, okay, I can kind of borrow something from Schwarzenegger here, maybe something from Bruce Willis there?
Not essentially, I'll certainly watch them, but I mean, that was certainly a different era and a different time that they were making movies in. And there is stuff to be borrowed as far as you know, scamming off of somebody's playbook, but you certainly have to make your career your own. And although I take pages from those guys and certainly understand why they were successful, you got to beat your own path, and you certainly want to be yourself. Having everyone say, "Oh, that you're the next Arnold Schwarzenegger," that's not a bad term, and that's not bad company to be in. But you also want them to remember you as John Cena.
Hey, so there's a lot of stunts in this film. Is that you in every single frame?
The way you can tell that it's me is by watching the movie. You can see me riding the streetcar. You can see me driving the truck. I'm hanging from an elevator shaft. I'm jumping out of a 10-story building, jumping off of a skyscraper onto a helicopter. That's me, bud.
Wow. Now, by the way, I seem to remember you coming here at one point and saying that you were afraid of heights. So if that's you jumping off a 10-story building, and there's one where you rappel down the side of a building, how are you able to do that and still kind of overcome that fear?
I didn't overcome the fear. I still crap my pants every time I get up there. That was one where I didn't want to do it. And I actually talked to the director, and I said, I think we can use a double here. And we had a long discussion over it, and I became really good friends with Rennie Harlan. He made us an awesome movie, and he was so good that for him and for the good of the movie, I decided to get up there, and it was, I'll tell you, it was a miserable 2 days on the movie. I didn't overcome my fear, and the shots of the movie of me rappelling out of a 10-story building, you can see genuine fear on my face.
You also got to drive a fire truck, which is like every kid's fantasy. How cool was that?
That was awesome. It's like a tank with regular tires. You can't dent that. You can't stop it. You can drive through anything. Once I learned that nothing could stop the fire truck, it was fantastic. I had a lot of fun with that.
So do you get driving lessons before that? They teach you how to do it?
Believe it or not, I actually did. I got tactical driving with New Orleans Police. I got to do a stunt course with Steve Ritchie, our stunt coordinator, and I got to learn how to fishtail in a 180 the fire truck. I took it out on a testing course, and they cut the front brakes out, so it was just the back brakes, and we really could have some fun with it. It was awesome.
Hey, so is it safe to say now that you will continue wrestling and making movies at the same time, both for at least the foreseeable future?
That is a very, very safe thing to say. We have a legion of adoring fans in the WWE universe, and I know it really is worthless for me to say. It's kind of like me trying to, discuss performance-enhancing drugs with you guys. people see certain people and they have their own judgment about what's going to go on. Because of the people before me, everybody thinks that I'm leaving, and the only way I can prove my point is the only way I've proved that I'm not taking performance-enhancing drugs. That's one, to pass every drug test and to do whatever anybody else says. And the way for me to tell people that I'm going to still wrestle is just to show up every Monday night, and they can count on that.
So basically what you're saying is you will not be following in The Rock's footsteps in that regard.
I'm saying that The Rock doesn't even want to be called The Rock anymore, and I won't be following in Dwayne Johnson's footsteps.
Well, there you go. That says it all right there. Hey, by the way, I'm watching Saturday Night Live a few weeks ago with Tracy Morgan hosting, and you showed up in the open there. How'd that come about?
Yeah, I got to sneak on in a really cool cameo. I was in New York doing some media for our corporate offices, and they knew I was around, and you know, they called me up. They said they had a little bit for me, and I told them I'd take it.
Hey, so WrestleMania coming up, 25th anniversary, April 5th, Sunday, pay-per-view. Why don't you tell everybody who you're going to be wrestling that night?
I have a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship against the Rated R superstar Edge, who is now the incumbent World Heavyweight Champion, and a 7-foot, 500-pound giant known as the Big Show. So it's us three in the ring at once. The bell rings to start the match. The first pinfall and submission is the new champion. Now, those matches are sketchy because you can lose and not be pinned or submit. So, I mean, it's one of those situations, and I've been in those matches before, where you don't lose the match, but you end up losing the match, so to say.
What are some of your favorite WrestleMania moments?
My favorite actually doesn't even involve me. My favorite of all time is Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant.
Oh, yeah.
In '3.
Yep.
That's a moment that is just frozen in the time of so many minds, and when people think of the success of the WWE, that is certainly one of those moments where everybody realized that Vince McMahon was onto something larger than life. I mean, 93,000 people in the Pontiac Silverdome, and Hulk Hogan doing then what was the impossible by slamming Andre the Giant. That was like the beginning of something huge. And for me, being a young, impressionable kid at the time, that was what I needed to see. It had me hooked.
Hey, sometimes you've been called a doctor of thugonomics. How does one become a doctor of thugonomics?
Well, I took some online courses. It was, some basic online survey courses at the University of Thugonometry. And, it's an easy 6-week program. You can do a Google search on it.
All right, listen, we're looking forward to seeing 12 rounds in the theater. It opens on Friday. And also, pay-per-view Sunday, April 5th, the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. Can't wait for that one as well. Hey, Champ, thanks as usual for joining us on the podcast. We love having you on Best Damn, and wish you the best of luck.
Not a problem, guys, and hopefully I'll be able to see you soon. Thanks.
Absolutely. Take care. You know, I kind of had a feeling that A-Rod stuff was taken out of context. It just didn't seem like something he would say.
It didn't seem like something a wrestler would, call other people out for that,
Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that.
It was a little out of proportion.
Yeah. So thanks to him for clearing that up. And, boy, how about that stuff about The Rock?
Yeah, there's no love lost between those two. He's not.
I guess it doesn't really surprise me because, what he says is true. I remember when The Rock started coming on Best Damn.
Yeah.
Years ago, he was The Rock.
Yeah.
And then he was Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And this is, by the way, this is not only what he called himself, but what he wanted us to write when we fonted him on the screen. And then he became Dwayne Johnson. And he won't answer to The Rock anymore. And he gave up wrestling right when he started doing movies. He never looked back.
No, but I'm pretty sure that the WWE owns the name The Rock.
You're probably right.
So
about
that means they get some portion of his proceeds if he's billed as The Rock too.
Yes, but still, I think losing The Rock from the name, it sends a message to wrestling fans
that he's not
saying that
back.
I've moved on from that. I'm somebody different. I've forgotten maybe who I was, 5-6 years ago. And it just strikes me that Cena's not going to do that. He's not going to be that guy.
Well, he says he's not going to do it, but you never know.
Well, you're right.
The lure of Hollywood.
You never know.
What if he becomes a big star?
I don't think he will, though.
I think he'll stay?
I think he's the guy who kind of knows he owes everything to wrestling.
And he has a fan base,
that's given him the opportunity to do these movies, and he likes doing them. But, wrestling's his bread and butter. That's what he's good at. So
he enjoys it, too.
Yeah, so thanks again to Cena for joining us on the podcast.
Great guest.
Boy, you ready for who we got coming up next?
I don't know. I
really don't know
if anyone can be ready for this.
I don't know if the podcast will have ever seen a guest like the one we've got coming up next. But
or heard either one.
Let's get right to it. This is going to be pretty exciting. And get that censor button ready, Chris.
Exactly. Yeah.
Producer Chris getting the censor button ready. All right, let's bring him in. He is former WWF wrestler and fantastic personality, I guess we'll say, the Iron Sheik. Iron Sheik, welcome to the Best Damn Sports Show podcast. How are you?
Oh, pleasure for me, Mr. Jason. to actually talk in the sports station, and because I grew up all my life with the sport. Even I was a Shah of Iran bodyguard, and his wife Farah Pahlavi, and Muhammad Reza Shah Pahlavi bodyguard. Still my heart was in the sport and a sports station. I'm happy to talk to you, sir.
Hey, out of curiosity, you're a big sports fan. What sports other than wrestling do you like watching?
I watch for All-American football, and also I'm a racquetball player. My young days, University of Minnesota, and 5 years I was a coach, and after wrestling, Greco-Roman or freestyle, everybody go home. In University of Minnesota, they have a racquetball court. And then I go another hour, I play racquetball. I was top 3 racquetball player in the University of Minnesota.
Wow. I didn't know that. So you still play racquetball?
Yes, as a matter of fact, good question. The last time I played racquetball was with Mr. McMahon Jr. 25 years ago, and in the Allentown, Pennsylvania, and in YMCA, I beat Mr. McMahon 21-1, 20-2, and the last game, I was nice to him. I beat him 21-19.
Wow, that's great.
He gets shocked because Mr. McMahon, I'm talking junior, not senior.
Right.
The one is already father of the Shane.
You should play Hogan in a racquetball match.
But Hogan is not my class. He don't have the balls to come play with me. Racquetball. I'm top 3 in the world. Plus, and Hogan is washed up worse than Iron Sheik. He had a bad hips, bad knee. The time he didn't have a bad knee or operation, his hips, I beat the out of him in Madison Square Garden. Number 1, a sports arena in the world. Like Frank Sinatra said, New York, Madison Square Garden. Hulk Hogan, after I lost my belt to you, you come in the locker room, hug me, kiss me, and you said, Shaky baby, I owe you one. By the time I make the world news with the hacksaw Jim Duggan, and also he was driving in the New Jersey Turnpike. We get caught, and we make the world news for the A to the Z. That was getting medicine, a beer, whatever, and all this. But my point is, Jason, Hulk Hogan is a gold-digger piece of garbage. He's a low-life. I lost my belt to him. Somebody offered me $100,000, break his leg, take the belt, come to Minnesota. My coach, Mr. Garnia, and he's going to give me $100,000. But Terry McMahon and Mr. Vince McMahon, both of them, the hand feed me. I don't bite that hand. I don't cut that hand. I love the WWF, my company, all this, or WWE. I was happy, and I didn't break the fucking gold digger Hogan leg. Anyway, Hulk Hogan is not my class, sir. Hulk Hogan is not Kurt Angle class. Hulk Hogan is not Dan Gable class. F*** the Hulk Hogan.
All right. Well, obviously you were disappointed to lose the belt to Hogan back in '83. Let's talk about one of the matches that I know you will look back on very fondly, and that's when you first won the WWF heavyweight title 4 weeks before the Hogan fight against Bob Backlund. Is that your greatest wrestling memory?
God bless you, Jason. You said it perfect, brother, because every intelligent American like yourself and all over the world, they knew who was a 6-year champion, Mr. Bob Backlund, one of the greatest from Minnesota, and he's like my student, and I teach him A to the Z, and he made it to Big Apple to be 6-year WWF champion, from midget to the giant Nobody beat Mr. Bob Backlund. He's one of the greatest shooters or a college wrestler from Minnesota, but he is not Iron Sheik class. 3 times All-America AAU champion, Iranian champion, coach for Munich, Germany for American team. He was not my class, but I have a lot of respect for Mr. Bob Backlund. After I beat him, and then I lost my belt to that jabroni Hollywood Hulk Hogan for $500,000. Money talk, my sport, and money walk.
So why do you think they took the belt away from you so quickly? Because 4 weeks later, you lost to Hogan, at the Garden. Why do you think they took it from you so quickly?
Jason, brother, I have a lot of respect for your opinion and your intelligence. You're right. I should have kept them more, least couple of years, whatever it is, 6 months, to Hogan chased me around the country, all over the world. But that was my boss' decision, Mr. McMahon, Pat Patterson, Mr. McMahon Sr., because I was so hot, I didn't need the belt, because with the Iranian situation, keep your people over 444 days hostage. Plus, I don't need cheap heat, because I was a real policeman, shooter, and like Dan Gable, Danny Hatch, Carol Gotch, or Mr. Bob Backlund, whatever. So anyway, I grew up with the Greco-Roman and freestyle. I'm a first Iranian from all this country in the world, Persia, Nunem, Iran, and I made it to the Big Apple, Madison Square Garden, to be single champion, tag team champion, battle royal, beat Mr. Bob Backlund. People know who had the belt before that Hollywood blonde Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik. Ya Allah, Ya Muhammad, Ya Ali. Anyway, Mr. Jason, I don't want to keep it too long. Any question you have, please ask me.
What are your thoughts on Vince McMahon? It seems like you have a lot of respect for him.
I just said, Jason, the hand fit me. I don't cut that hand because I'm a real man. I'm a sportsman, a sportsmanship. I play in the racquetball with Junior, different situation. I want to show him who is a tiger. But the business-wise, him, his father, Shane, Stephanie, Mrs. McMahon, Linda sent me rehab for 30. For 1 month, she paid $32,000 to I get sober with the coke, crack, marijuana, whatever. Only thing I do now, only drink beer. But that hurts my background because with my reputation, just said Iron Sheik is the #1 party man all night. But I had a moderation. Nicola know about that. And I think Iron Sheik, people doesn't talk about Iron Sheik good stuff. The only talking about Iron Sheik and Axel Jim Duggan, we make the whole news for coke, crack, whatever, marijuana, beer in New Jersey, Torbach. But Axel offered me, I don't want to turn his hand down. I said, no problem. I want to be one of the sensible, be one of the boys. But cost me 2 years. And God bless Mr. Ted Turner in Georgia offered me $250,000 a year. I worked 2 years in the NWA. That is Ori Anderson, Gene Anderson, myself, and Luke Sluger, and a Stoner brother, Paul Androp. Anyway, good to return. And God bless Mr. Ted Turner. Take me to Georgia, and I made it. And I'm happy now, and God bless you. You called me, Jason. At least you didn't forget about the rare legend.
Hey, Sheik, what do you think about wrestling today? Are you still watching wrestling?
As a matter of fact, yes, Mr. Jason. And that's my heart, my life, my blood. I grew up with a freestyle since 15 years old, and I'm pro after Olympic, Munich, Germany. Ric Flair, Campodero, myself, Greg Daniel, Team Brazilian. I turned pro, but I love pro because I was a 3-time gold medal America. I didn't make no money. Since I come pro, I come millionaire, 35 years married. She left me last couple months gold digger, and I live by myself. And then, I have 3 grandkids to come watch, see me and my daughter. Anyway, I'm making long story short, Jason. And still, every Monday, I watch the Monday Raw, and still I'm for the WWE, and still number 1 company in the world is the World Wrestling Entertainment. Another Jabroni company, what it calls CNN or whatever, no comparison to the WWE. WWE is still number 1 company in the world.
Hey, so I want to get your thoughts on some other wrestlers. I know there was one point in the past where you had a problem with the Ultimate Warrior. Is that something that it still lingers? Are you still upset with the Ultimate Warrior?
Listen, Baba, I love you asked that question. Sergeant Slaughter is a man. Iron Sheik is a man. Bruno Sammartino is a man. Legend. And I'm embarrassed to the Ultimate War. Somebody his for the money. He's a low-life no good. He is embarrassing to come World Wrestling Federation be by name Ultimate War. He's a punk. I beat him 35 years ago with my Persian club. He was Mr. Georgia in Georgia. But the man sold himself to somebody for the money, and he is not really belong to my sport. Number 1 sport in the Olympic is, Jason, wrestling. Head to the top to be ready. Wrestling is a one-on-one, not Michael Jordan team sport, not Terry Bradshaw football sport. I want to say that little bodybuilder, he's and his wife right on the book, that jabroni. He go serve himself for the money. He is a male prostitute. And the reason I slap my agents, that jabroni Eric says, because Eric says the son of a bitch, he want to make money. He take me by his table, and I said, Mr. Altoona, whatever his name was, I said, hello, sir. I go to second him, Jason. He didn't second to me. And I asked him why. He said to me, Sheik, you go tell everybody I'm a I said, sir, I'm sorry, I apologize. Second to me, expect my apology. He said, no, Sheik, I'm done. And then I tell him, no, you are low-life piece of garbage. I take my shirt off. I slap my agent's Eric Sense breast. And then I tell him, come on, you mother F. He didn't come fight with me. And he called FBI, he called CIA, he called his whole New Jersey sheriff department, whatever. But all the officers of New Jersey and FBI, CIA, they know Iron Sheik is a good man. I have a lot of respect for the New Jersey officer and sheriff. They know Iron Sheik is a good man. That piece of garbage, Bruno tell him, if you 10 years ago you with Iron Sheik suplex you and put you in the camel clutch, break your back, and I'm gonna I'll make him humble.
There also was some rumors that you had some bad blood with the Macho Man. Is that true?
Yes, as a matter of fact. I know Angelo Powerful and his brother Lenny Powerful, but that people, they are intelligent people. They are cheap, but they're not like Baltimore War. Poncho, what is his name? Moncho, Randy Savage, and his brother Lonnie, and God bless his father passed away. I know that family 45 years. They are millionaires, but anytime we go to the London, Paris, and Japan, if the God bless Elizabeth, she wants hot dog, and she have to get a Poncho permission. Can I get a hot dog? Poncho said, yeah. I mean, Poncho, Randy Savage said to the Elizabeth, yeah, if it's not expensive, you get it. But if it's expensive, you have to pay yourself. That's where I get shocked. They go make a $500,000 a year. Elizabeth make $500,000 a year. No, what the they worried about jabroni hot dog? Well, how much was going to worth it anyway? Hot dog is no more than a couple of bucks anyway. So anyway, I found that jabroni, he's the cheapest, worse than Nicola Volkov, and worse than Johnny Starr, and he really, really get hit with me. But at least I respect Randy Savage, Macho Man, and his brother Danny Popo. They are not. They are really serious, good people, and I like it.
Sheik, I would buy you as many hot dogs as you want. Just know that I would buy you hot dogs.
I love you. Thank you, Jason. Whatever you say, I see you in the whatever you are. You, myself, maybe we go have a hot dog with Dan Muradi, or my favorite spaghetti meatball, Italian food.
Yeah, I'd buy you that too. I would basically take you to whatever deli you want to go to, and lunch is on me.
Oh, thank you. I love you. Thanks for your thoughts and your heart, because you're the good man. I've never met you, but I can feel you. You are a gentleman.
Hey, let me ask you this. Do you still keep in touch with some of the guys that you were wrestling with back in the 80s and 90s? Some of the guys you stayed friends with, maybe?
As a matter of fact, Nicola, I'll see him pretty soon. Next week in the convention, Chili Theater, I have a convention, April 17 or 18, nothing. This Friday, thanks to the God and Jesus, tomorrow, 6 o'clock, I'll come to New York. From New York, I'll fly all over to the London, England. And I'll be there 3 days. I'll come home Monday. And, but I don't know how many hours my plane stopped New York. Otherwise, maybe I can meet you in the airport. We have a cup of cold beer and a little bit of hot dogs.
Absolutely. I have family back in New York. I'll come fly back there and meet you over the weekend. Hey, Sheik, I'm curious. Did you see the movie The Wrestler? Because there's a character in there called Ayatollah, which obviously is based on you. Have you seen the movie? What'd you think of it?
God bless you. As a matter of fact, people call me. They said that was my position. That young black man take it. No problem. I'm happy for him. But the people know that was a real Iron Sheik background history from Iran. Be a real Iranian. Come to America and go with the Ayatollah flag in the ring. I mean, I'm happy for that, but people know that's the Iron Sheik position was supposed to be.
Hey, Sheik, I love listening to you on the Howard Stern show. I'm assuming you have a lot of fun when you go in there and talk to Howard.
Howard is a great man, and Howard Stern come with his grandfather, Miami. First time he saw the match, Iron Sheik match, and grandfather bring him. He's a great man. His wife, beautiful lady, and all employee, Robin and Hardy, all of them. I get along with them, especially Shuli and Mr. Bob Levy, killing comedian, and that jabroni little black man, what do you call him, Beetlejuice. So I get all of them. I get along with all of them. No, I'm happy. He's a good man. He look after me. God bless him. And everybody know. Radio 1001 in Manhattan, #1 station in the world. Is radio on the radio, the best.
Hey, what do you think about Artie's impression of you?
Well, you know that Jabroni is a great performer. I know he's a good entertainment, but at least he's not like Baltimore where he's not.
Right. Hey, by the way, I was surfing the internet the other day, and I came across IronSheikOnline.com, and I got to tell you, that's a pretty good website you've got there.
Well, I'll be honest with you, my grandkids and my family, they can read. They have a computer, everything. But I'll be honest with you, only way I have pretty soon if somebody take care of me a little bit money-wise. Only thing I need is CVR, DVD, and one big television so I can watch my old matches. And another thing, if somebody can help me and it's only what do you call internet, that computer machine, and then future I'll be happy.
Yeah, well, it's a great website, and for all those listeners out there who want to learn all about the Sheik and what he's up to and where you can meet him, go to IronSheikOnline.com. It's a terrific website. Hey, Sheik, listen, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Really appreciate it. We're big fans, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Pleasure, Mr. Jason. Again, I want to say hello to all my wrestling fans, WWF or WWE, around the world, hello, and also Killer Comedian and over the store 101 News. God bless you guys, and have a good day. I'm going to go to the England this coming tomorrow. Monday I'll be in England, and Sunday, Saturday, I hope I see all my wrestling fans in England. God bless you, and have a good day.
You too, Sheik. Take care. Zach, what the hell just happened there? That was the craziest interview I think we've ever had on the podcast.
Jason, we'll beat for beer in New York City. Jabroni, I'll be there.
By the way, I think I just made a date with the Iron Sheik. I'm meeting him at like JFK Airport. We're going to go to Starbucks.
You too. I mean, I know you told that story about Jose Canseco. I prefer going out with the Sheik. I think he's got great stories because he is.
Oh, that was incredible.
He's amazing. He has no shortage of stories. That's for sure.
Wow. As expected, better than expected. Yeah. What would you say?
I would say I had high expectations and he lived up to them, which is hard to do.
It's really hard to do.
So he lived up to exactly and he was, he was calm, but he was, he got riled up.
He was calm.
He got riled up in a few places.
He was anything but calm.
But he was calm until you asked him about the Ultimate Warrior. He didn't care for him. And
Who did he care for? Bruno Sammartino, Sergeant Slaughter, Bob Backlund. He cares for those guys.
Like those guys, yeah.
Right?
And Nikolai seems to, he still hangs out with Nikolai. But
he actually seemed to like McMahon a little bit.
Yeah, he had a reverence. He beat him in racquetball, though. He was really proud of that achievement.
How unreal is that? He's a racquetball player.
Great racquetball player. I mean, I didn't, and he wasn't too upset about the wrestlers today either. Like he was like saying they're good. He watches Raw every week, so that's fun. We should have asked him about John Cena. Our earlier guest, what he thought about John Cena.
Or we should have asked Cena about the Iron Sheik.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that
was crazy.
Yeah. It's funny because he's got kind of a love-hate relationship with a lot of these guys.
Yeah,
like he dislikes Hulk Hogan in certain respects, but he likes him in other respects. The same with Macho Man, dislikes him but likes him.
Right.
Didn't seem to have much love for the Ultimate Warrior though.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, But he does like you. I know that much. Like
that much was clear, right?
Yeah, like you two. Well, I mean, he thought you were on the whole time.
Yeah, I don't think he can really differentiate between me and you,
which is fine,
Right. And I got to be honest, I do like being called Mr. Jason.
Yeah, exactly. And God bless you a lot.
Yeah.
Great question. Great question.
You've asked a great question. You know what? There's a little Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, I think, in the Iron Sheik.
Jason, Mr. Jason, you are a great man. Let's mate beers. Hacksaw Jim Dugan and I. You. Nikolai Volkov.
Oh, that was tremendous.
Yeah, that was as good as it gets. Really,
yeah, wow, what a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
John Cena, the Iron Sheik, thanks to them for joining us.
Yeah, we took like 35 years, 50 years of wrestling combined with Cena and everything. Yeah.
God, that was great.
Yeah.
That was great. So thanks to those guys. And, hey, you know what? We'll be back with another podcast tomorrow. Tomorrow we got a crazy one, too. We have Jerry Springer is going to be on the podcast tomorrow. Let me tell you this. That guy knows his baseball. I know he's a big Yankees fan. And there's definitely some crazy stuff to talk about with him. And then for everybody getting ready for your fantasy baseball drafts, we've got Stephen Goldman, who is the editor of Baseball Prospectus. Now, I swear by this thing when I get ready for my fantasy drafts because they've got information in this book that you're not going to find anywhere else.
It's led Jason to consecutive 8th place finishes. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I think you did well last year, but
I wish you were kidding. By the way,
exactly. Well, they don't take into account poor trades. That's really what the.
God, it's embarrassing to say I've never won a fantasy baseball title.
Yeah,
I've won multiple fantasy football titles. I've been playing fantasy baseball since back before there were any kind of like online websites to do it. We had to handwrite.
Was it still called rotisserie?
It was called rotisserie baseball. I had guys like Lamar Hoyt and Ricky Henderson back in like 1983 on my team, and I still couldn't win.
Exactly.
30 years of playing, and I have not won yet.
But you're still doing it.
Yeah, hopefully Stephen Goldman will be able to help me get my first baseball title. So anyway, I know a lot of people are getting ready for their fantasy baseball drafts, so you're going to want to listen to that. So that's all coming up tomorrow. If you want to send us an email, it's bestdampodcast@yahoo.com, and we will read them on the air.
Wouldn't it be great if Stephen Goldman sounded just like the Sheik? You trapped David Wright. He is great. Jose Reyes, 50 steals. That would be unbelievable if that were true.
If only that
happened. But maybe we could ask him to do the voice for a while. Yeah.
Do you think he knows who the Iron Sheik is, Stephen Goldman?
Maybe. I mean, yeah. I think everyone knows the Iron Sheik, don't they?
Do you think more people in the Beverly Center, a mall here in Los Angeles?
Our Q rating question.
Who is more well known? Is it the Iron Sheik, Kim Kardashian, or let's say Bruce Jenner? Of those three,
would Sheik be wearing like his full regalia, like the whole
yes,
garb?
Absolutely, and he can talk too.
Yeah, I'd still have to give the slight edge to Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, I would too. Right.
But Sheik would be up there.
I'm just testing you on that one.
Exactly.
I want to make sure you gave the right answer.
Exactly.
Wow. So again, what a podcast. So anyway, tomorrow, great one too. Springer, Stephen Goldman from Baseball Prospectus. Until then, thanks for listening.